Hey everybody, Sue's here. Today I'm going to show you this awesome keto-friendly low-carb blueberry salsa, pork chops, and cauliflower rice baked dish that I have been working on for a while now and I'm pretty proud of. It is super tasty. It made my kitchen smell so terrific. You can throw this blueberry salsa together and eat it chilled, or you can eat it warm, cooked over a protein of your choice like we're going to be doing today. I will link it down below on my website, so make sure you check that out. And I will go ahead and apologize now if I have a little lisp in this video, as I had some dental work done this week and I haven't quite figured it out yet how to talk correctly. So let's go ahead and get to the video. Make sure you hit that subscribe button if you are not already a member of the crew. So the first step in this recipe, we're just going to make our homemade blueberry salsa. So for that, I have 3/4 of a cup fresh blueberries. I just used a little hand chopper to kind of roughly chop these apart, adding those to our small mixing dish, along with a 1/2 cup of chopped red bell pepper, 1/4 of a cup of chopped red onion, a tablespoon of chopped fresh cilantro, and about a tablespoon of chopped jalapeños. And for these, I just use the jarred jalapeno rings. Get out a couple forkfuls of those and run those through a little mini processor, because for those, I do like it to be finely chopped. Everything else you can see is just kind of coarsely chopped apart like you would for any salsa. To that, I'm also adding a tablespoon of lime juice. You could use fresh lime juice if you prefer, but we keep things super easy around here, and I'm just using a pretty good quality jarred lime juice. And then you're just going to use a spatula to kind of mix this all around really well. And I'm just going to cover this with some foil and pop it in the fridge for all the flavors to just marinate together. Taking a little small dish, putting together a seasoning combo here of 1/4 teaspoon sea salt, 1/4 teaspoon ground black pepper, and then I'm adding a 1/2 teaspoon total of ground cumin. You can add a little bit more if you want to here. And I'm just using one of my measuring spoons to kind of toss this all together until it's nice and combined. We'll be using this to season our pork chops as well as our cauliflower rice. Moving over to the stove top, I have a large skillet. We're going to be using 4 bone-in, about a 1/2 inch thick pork chops. Added a couple tablespoons of extra virgin olive oil to our skillet over medium-high heat. You could go ahead and pre-season these pork chops, but I went ahead and added 2 to our pan, and I'm just going to show you. I'm going to sprinkle a little bit of the seasoning combo on this side, rub it in, flip them over immediately, and season the other side. I would normally season them all the way before I put them in the skillet, but I'm trying to show you as I do it. I do have a super large skillet, and I could have just seared all of these at one time, but I'm just showing you how to do it. For those of you that don't have a super large skillet, just use a regular one. After they've seared 3 to 5 minutes on that side, I'm flipping them over. You can see we've got this nice golden color to them. I find that when you sear pork before you cook it, especially if you're going to bake it or slow cook it, it just traps in that flavor. It makes it nice and tender on the inside, as pork can dry out pretty quickly if you're not careful with it. Removing these out of the pan to a clean separate dish, and then we're going to just repeat the process with our other 2 pork chops. I'm putting these in seasoned side down, as I did go ahead and pre-season them. Repeating what we did earlier, sprinkling a little bit of seasoning on top, and I'm just going to rub that in a little. And I'm going to let these cook for 3 to 5 minutes on each side. This is about the seasoning amount that I have left over, about 1/4 teaspoon. Flipping these. We're going to use that little bit of seasoning remnants to season our cauliflower rice. You can see one of the pork chops is buckling a little where the fat is. You can stop that from happening by cutting little slits in the fat, but I just didn't bother for this. We're moving those pork chops to that same dish. And now we're going to get prepped. I have my oven preheated at 375. I'm taking a large 13 by 9 inch baking dish. You want something that's kind of deep. Spraying it with a little extra virgin olive oil cooking spray. You could use whatever type of nonstick spray or butter you prefer. To make things easy, I am taking a 10-ounce bag of riced cauliflower rice. It is not pre-steamed already, but I did make sure to thaw it out so that it will steam up nicely in the oven. And I'm just going to spread it out into an even layer, adding the rest of our leftover seasoning, and then I'm also taking our plate with our pork chops on it and pouring in all of those awesome flavorful droppings all over our cauliflower rice, using my spatula to mix that around so it's nice and seasoned. And then I'll spread this back out into an even layer. We're going to be baking our pork chops right on top. Taking 2 tablespoons of butter, and I have them split up, adding a 1/2 tablespoon to each corner of our baking dish, and then just using our tongs from earlier, since we're going to be cooking these in the oven, we're not worried about cross-contamination here, and plopping a pork chop on top of each pad of butter. Again, pouring any more of that awesome pork chop juice right into our pan. I don't want to miss out on any of that flavor. Grabbing our salsa that we put together earlier, I'm just going to give it a couple tosses here to make sure it's all still mixed nicely. And we're going to just divide this evenly among each of our chops. Again, if you preferred, you could totally eat this with the salsa chilled and just bake your chops in your cauliflower rice, but I really like the flavor combo of baking this on top of the pork chops, and found that baking it the way that we did the vegetables still had a little bit of firmness to their texture. And because we want our cauliflower rice to steam up in the oven and our pork to stay nice and juicy, I'm going to cover this with tinfoil, popping it into that 375-degree oven just for 25 minutes because we already seared our chops so well. But you do want to, if you're not sure, use a meat thermometer, make sure it's cooked all the way through. Here it is after we remove it from the oven, taking that foil off. I wish I could accurately describe to you how well my kitchen smells. I just don't even think these pictures do this justice. Like I said, I wish I could describe how great this recipe tastes, how awesome it smells. It's really unlike anything I've ever prepared before. I was inspired by a recipe I saw recreating a blueberry salsa from a restaurant, and I was like, gosh, how can I make that keto-friendly, low carb, just a nice change from all of the stuff that we normally eat on a keto diet? If you make and try this recipe and you're on social media, tag us at Suze and the Crew. I would love to see what your versions of this recipe look like, and especially if you change it up. I know some of you are not fans of cilantro, so I figure you might replace that with something else. Also, if you try to, do this like with a salmon or something like that, I think would also be so delicious, or even chilled over a salad. So there you are. I hope you enjoyed this week's keto cooking video. As always, we try really hard to make these videos every single week. Lately, it's been a little rough with homeschool. I know a lot of you out there probably can feel me on that. But as we approach the end of the year, hopefully we'll get into the swing of things. Hope all of you are doing well. And until next time, bye y'all.
How big is your love? Tell me.